everyone, my name is Carrie and I am a pediatric speech language pathologist. I work with itty bitty kids in the early intervention birth to 3-year program. I get lots of parents asking me, how do I get my child to talk? Well, the answer is you do not withhold objects until your child talks. I'm sure as a parent you have already tried that and have realized that this is creating such frustration between you and your child. I'm going to give you a few strategies that you can start right now. You don't need to buy anything, you don't need to do anything. You can incorporate these strategies throughout your toddler's day. The first strategy is using gestures or simple sign language to bridge that gap between what the child wants and the child getting the object. So my favorite sign is more because it can be used across a variety of contexts. So if the child is sitting there eating and reaching for food and saying, I would model more and then put more of the food on the plate. If the child wants something more like you blowing bubbles, blow the bubbles and then the child's going, Continue to model that more. Remember, we're gonna have several instances of modeling. Make sure you're saying the word more and then giving the child more of a desired object or an activity or anything like that. So once the child is able to understand more, you can expand that to all done, help, and this is something you can start at an early age because it's going to be easier for a baby to move their hands like this or bring their hands together to indicate more of a desired object before they are able to use their articulators to verbally say more. So their brain is making a wonderful and beautiful connection of communicating and using their body to communicate. This is one of my favorite strategies. It's so easy, so simple, something that you can incorporate in your everyday life. The next strategy is naming. We want to name and label everything that the child is doing and interacting with and using one-word phrases. So the more times a child hears a word, the more the child is going to remember that word and then verbally produce that word. Now, I don't want you to limit this to just nouns. We can also label actions. So we can label brushing, eating, washing. And this is such a great strategy because instead of asking the child's WH question, what's this? It takes the pressure off of the child and allows them to retain that information. So if the child is handing you an apple, you can say apple. If the child is handing you a specific toy like a block or a ball, make sure you are labeling and naming that object as well as labeling and naming actions too. The next strategy is offering your child 2 choices. So let's make sure that the choices that you are giving your child are very visual. So you can hold up a ball or you can hold up an apple or any 2 objects and ask the child, do you want the ball or do you want the apple? And what's great about this is that it is giving the child the freedom of choice. It is typically easier for a child to label a noun before it is to answer a yes/no question. So if you're saying, do you want this? Do you want this? That is a higher level language activity. So if you give that child a visual and a field of 2 things, then they can communicate to you which of the 2 things that they want. And remember, the child doesn't have to actually verbally say. The child can start off with that communication by pointing, by demonstrating joint attention, like looking at the object and looking back at you, by using simple signs. So giving your child a choice of 2 is a great way to get your child to interact as well as take the pressure off of asking a WH question. If your child is already able to use a few single word phrases, the next strategy is called copy and add. So if your child is consistently using the word go, then let's expand it by 1 more word. So you can say go more, go car, go ball. So think, we just want to copy and add. We want to use the word that the child is already saying and then expand it by 1 more word. This is a great strategy if your child has a couple of those single word phrases that he or she is using over and over again. Keep it natural, keep it fun, and expand it by 1 more word, whatever the child is already saying. The next strategy is pausing. This is really hard to do as a parent because we feel the need to fill any extra time and space with words and communication. And yes, it is so important to comment and name, as I was talking about early, but after you comment and after you name, there is a lot of value in pausing. So I like to use a carrier phrase like ready, set, go. Ready, set, go. And I'm going to use this phrase maybe while I'm interacting with bubbles or a toy that's cause and effect. And as soon as I say go, I'm going to blow more bubbles, or I'm going to do a pop-up toy that gets that instant gratification. So I'm going to use that carrier phrase, ready, set, and then pause and see if I can get the child to say go. Again, we can do lots of modeling and then lots of pausing with that. So that is my final strategy, is pausing. I hope as a parent or a caregiver, you find this information helpful. Remember, we don't want to withhold objects until a child talks or communicates. That is going to create such frustration between the interaction with your child. So don't feel like you need to withhold everything until your child talks. Try these strategies. Take the pressure off your child. Let's model. Let's give your child opportunities and keep it fun and keep yourself and your child frustration free. Follow along for more tips and tricks.